So Isabel's holding me as a hostage. Oh my God. Hi and welcome to this week's YouTube vlog. And I hope we're all okay and we're in a shed because Isabel's held me hostage, but there we go. Thanks for everyone that subscribed. Last week we've had, and just about the most we've had, joint most in a week, so we think it's amazing. And their comments also last week were brilliant. And Ben is particularly appreciative of the, what tool bag to get. So he's looking into that. So he says, thank you very much. And as for you, Mr. Puller, you're making us laugh every week. You just crack me up. So yeah, great stuff. So moving on to this week's vlog, we're going to do something totally different. We're not going to go technical, we're not going to go boilers, we're not going to go installs, we're not going to go anything like that. We are going to do something that we've been asked about a lot, and that is basically, how do I start as an oil technician? What do I do? Or if I want to go out by myself, how do I do that? What basic tools do I need? Basically, how do I get started? Because at the end of the day, we all have to get started somewhere. I was really lucky. I come into a family business. So obviously my dad taught me everything I know today, which is a lot. Hi, Dad. And yeah, it was absolutely brilliant. And the tools I've just picked up over the years, and there's things that my dad used that didn't necessarily work for me, so I've got my own, and the boys are the same. So we all have our own variations, but the basic core tools are exactly the same for everyone, depending on the make you use. The best thing I can say for people, if you're really young and you've just come out of school, done a small plumbing apprenticeship or not, and you want to come into oil, don't just jump into it. Get some experience, just tag in off somebody else. Go and work for someone, and go and work for someone that does oil, not does a bit of oil, a bit of gas, a bit of this, a bit of that, who's oil, if that's what you're really interested in. Get your experience with them, really understand how the boilers work, the burners work, because if you don't, it's just a non-starter, there's no point in you starting. If you've been doing it for a while and you think you've got the experience and you know how to service a boiler correctly, and also you're capable of doing very basic breakdowns, and you just know the crack with oil, the regulations, etc, etc, then yeah, maybe start by yourself. The first thing you'll need to do before you do anything is go to Offtech. We go to EOGB. We do the Sapphire as well. Love them. And yeah, do your OFT 50, which is your basic one. You know, this is the burner, this is the nozzle, this is what this does, this is what that does. And then do your 4-day full Offtech assessment, which is book related. It's like an open book, multiple choice questions, but they just teach you the regulations, the dreaded heat loss calculation and all that side of it. Again, if you're going into it, concentrate on one area. Don't just think that you can install boilers, you can do Argas, you can do everything. You can't. My advice to you would be start really simple, service first. When you get confident of servicing, go into breakdowns more, because at the end of the day, a breakdown is just about the way the boiler works. If you service enough and you do lots and lots of servicing, then you will start to understand how every boiler works. Once you've got that knowledge in your head, and then you listen to a boiler on a breakdown, you'll be like, oh, it shouldn't do that because of that. Yes, there's stuff on top you need to learn, but that's why we have a YouTube channel, and you can have a look at all the various videos that we're doing, and there is some more technical ones coming now. But essentially, once you get good at servicing, do your breakdowns. Once you get good at breakdowns, then start thinking about, I might do a valve, I might do a cylinder, I might install a boiler, but you've got to be really confident in doing that, i.e. soldering and pressing and all that as well. So that's what I recommend you do. Get with someone for a start if possible. If you've done that, do your OFT 50, do your Offtech, and then basically it's experience. You think you know everything today, like I think I know loads of stuff. I learned something tomorrow, and that's what happens. So that is exactly what you need to do. And yeah, everyone, good luck for that. I'm now going to show you the basic tools we use so people can get an understanding if they're starting out, getting a van, get some tools for the first time. I'm not going to show you everything, I'm just going to show you the bulk standard basic tools you're going to require. So Isabel, let's go to the van. Woo! Here we go. So, it's quite hard to explain this because essentially you can see by my tools here, they're sort of more top end. So I've got Wera, I've got some Barco, clearly Crescent, you know, so this is like expensive stuff. But if you're just starting out, don't just go and buy everything. You think, wow, I've got to get the most expensive stuff in the world. You haven't. Get something medium of the range, Stanley, Clark, Sealy, something like that. Magnuson's not too bad if you want to go lower again, because at the end of the day you've got to make sure you actually like the job. That's the most important thing, because if you don't, you're wasting your money. So start cheap, then as you break things or wear things out, go a little bit better. So this is a bit of a bad reflection, because obviously this stuff's a bit on the higher end of the range, but at least you're going to get the gist of what I'm doing. So the most important thing for a start, screwdrivers. As you see here, I have a screwdriver set. This is made by Wera, but this is like getting on for £100 this. Okay, this has got every attachment in it you need, but essentially you're okay just starting with a basic screwdriver set. So if I look here, again these are Wera, but these are just normal screwdrivers. Just get yourself a basic set from Screwfix. 30 quid, something like that, okay, and that'd be good, because you just need this for most things. The best thing I've also got, which is really good, is this screwdriver here. It's an Allen key screwdriver. It's a 4mm. It's a 4mm, 3mm and 2.5s are really handy, but at the end of the day I use this for a lot of stuff, because it's also got the ball at the end. Get the one with the ball at the end. So if you're going in on something like a motor and it's at an angle, you can sort of like go in like that and it will still grip and undo it. So that's a really useful tip. Get yourself one of them. As long as also getting yourself a set of Allen keys. I've gone Wera again. Yes, these are 40 odd pounds, but to be honest, the only thing that I'd say, don't compromise on Allen keys. Okay, these are the best because they'll just snap. Again, they've got the balls on the end. And if you can see that, Isabel? They've got tiny little balls inside the balls, okay, and that grips the screw. These are great. The only downside of these is I tend to lose the yellow ones, so I buy 2 or 3 of them at a time. Again, you can get these from Screwfix, but actually these ones come from Amazon because it was cheaper, about £40. You can get the shorter ones, but I go for the long ones because it's just much easier. So I'd say, like, expensive tools, probably this and this. They're the two. This is King Dick this, but again they're doing Wera as well. So I would, yeah, that is dearer stuff. Apart from that, you don't have to worry. So spanners, really important. You can get yourself a spanner set like this. The trouble with this spanner set is £150, okay? But again, you can get Magnuson ones, you can get Sealy ones that are a lot cheaper. If you don't want to buy them all, the most common sizes you need on here are actually 8, 10, 11, 12, 13, and then you've got the 14, 16, 17, 19. They're the most common ones we use. That was probably all the sizes nearly, but you can, you know, most sets come as basic sets, so when you buy them you have to be really careful, because they don't actually come with the 16 mils in them, or the 18, so just be careful of that one. However, I do have these. These come from, well, McKay's in Cambridge, but obviously a lot of you aren't from Cambridge. These are brilliant. These are slim. See how slim these are compared to a normal one? Let's get a normal one out. You see that, Isabel? A lot slimmer. This is brilliant. Nozzle holders. So it's 16 on one end, 17 on the other end. What we do in a nozzle holder, I've got 2 of them. I stick a 17 in on the nozzle holder, flick it over on the 16 like that, undo them. Okay, so these are brilliant because they're a bit thinner. Sometimes when you're trying to put a normal spanner on a nozzle holder, it doesn't always go. So these are essential to me. But again, these were probably a tenner each, but you can get these off Amazon exactly the same, probably for about 4 quid. These are a real key one to me. And yeah, that's probably one of the most useful things to my toolkit. If you do a lot of wall stars as well, this is a must. 22mm. Again, this is Wera, but you can get it in any make because this is about £30. But on a wall star, you have, where the oil line is at the top, you have a big nut, and you can just stick that in there, and then you can get another spanner, i.e. 17 or 14 depending, or an adjustable, undo it. But it's really hard to grip that big nut at the bottom with a pair of grips, so that, you know, you're not going to make a mistake. And the reason I choose Wera is because if you see it's got jagged teeth on there, so if it's slightly rounded the bolt, it will pick it up still, and you'll still be able to grip. So that's what that 22 is literally for wall stars. It's the only reason I use it. If we keep on the wall star category, so to speak, wire brush for cleaning inside the combustion chamber. I've got one with a handle because you're essentially pushing your hand through a hole. So if we go back a little bit, Isabel, here, there's a hole. We use that as a demo. You can go in and then you can clean. Whereas if you have a longer brush like this one here, and you go in and you'll clean it, you're catching all the time on the bottom, you struggle to do it. So either cut the handle off or get the proper one, like that. So the wire brushes I use is just a normal one like so. I've got that in bronze as well, and one like that. Essentially that's all you need. I tend just to use that on blast tubes if they're a bit corroded or something like that. When I'm doing like, if I'm undoing a nut on a boiler and the threads are a little bit corroded, I use it on there as well. This one's new. don't last long. Every 2 months I'm changing these, I just wear them out and they fall to bits. Cheap Screwfix, I think a set of 3 of these, £8, 4 steel. Okay, they're next to nothing, so they're really good. So we'll move them to one side. Adjustable spanners. They're a funny one. There's so many adjustable spanners on the market. They're absolutely excellent. But the problem is you need something that you're not going to be scared of. What I mean by that is when you actually put it on the nut and you undo it like so, it doesn't go slip and then you get all this. Okay, you need something that's literally going to grip. These, you can put these on any nut and they're not going to slip off as long as the nut's in good condition to start with. Also, these are made by Barco. These are a wider jaw one, so most adjustables don't go that wide on that size, and they're very slightly slimmer as well. But for a start, any adjustable spanner would do, but just watch your knuckles. But these ones are made by Barco, 2 small ones and a big one. Again, a very essential part of my kit. When it comes to grips, my son Ben, he's got Magnuson ones, and actually they look rubbish, but they're really, really good, and they do actually grip. But I find some of the other ones, like Stanley, slip. I find Irwin ones are brilliant, but wear out fast. I've tried them all. Even Snap-on ones aren't too bad, but I had a pair shatter. These Knipex, these are brilliant. Okay, these don't slip. These, as you get hold of them there, they don't move because you have to push the button down. There's a lot out there where you just adjust them and when you go to grip, they slip and take your fingers off. So these are brilliant. As I say, these are Knipex. Crescent do ones that are nearly as good as this. The difference with the Crescent ones, they have a bit of a different jaw on them, so they're slightly better in other conditions. But I have a big set, a small set, and there is actually a medium set there as well. Okay, so they, again, essential item to me. Move them to one side. Have we done spanners? Yes, we have. There we go. This is all for servicing. So when you're inside a boiler, you can't get a baffle out. Hammer. You can get a cheap one. I got this recently, it's on a deal. This was way too much money. It's really, really nice, but essentially it's for boilers. So get a cheaper one because that was a rip-off. Okay, that was like 50 quid. So if you can't get it out, bar. These are the best things in the world. Normal cheap bar, 15 quid Screwfix again, or something like that. I think I got one as a present for one of my sons, £20 out of somewhere like Machine Mark. Really good. You can give these a lot of grief and they don't bend on this end. If you give them too much grief on this end, I can bend that in half. Okay, so they're good, but there's probably better ones on the market. I'm not sure what mate this is. I want to say Sealy. That's what I want to say. But again, if you've got a baffle that's stuck, you can go in, have a go at it. Okay, so that again is a really essential tool to have. When you undo the nozzles and you've got the nozzle holder, before you take the nozzle out, clean the nozzle holder, it looks nicer. Just a little brush. You know what we're going to say? Screwfix comes in a set, 3 quid. They do a bronze one, they do, which is this one here. They do one which is steel, and they do like a plasticky one. The plastic one you get out the bag, you chuck it in the bin, it's no good. But these two are really good. These are as cheap as chips. But again, unfortunately, a month, 2 months, if you use them properly, they don't last 5 minutes. Clean your teeth. Like so. Mole grips. I have 3 pairs of mole grips. Not what I call really essential, but sometimes you've got a baffle that's stuck or it's too hot, you can't get hold of it. You can go literally on there like so. You can undo that like so. We'll pretend this is the baffle. And then we just go grip. And then you can wiggle them and pull them out and you don't get hot. Burnt. That's the word, burnt. That is something that you need to take into consideration as well. These are longer because you can get in a bit better with these, but I have got some other ones as well. Pair cutters. Now people think, oh brilliant, they're just Speedfit cutters. What's that got to do with boilers and servicing? Glass rope. If you get these, nice sharp, and they cut really well. I've had so many different makes of these, and I'll be totally honest, the cheap, these are, what are these? Silver something or other these are, okay? But these ones are really cheap because I find even the dearer ones, when you cut glass rope with them, they blunt very quickly. So it's pointless. You might as well have these for a couple of months, spend 6-7 quid on them, and then chuck them, Silverline, this is what these are, chuck them in the bin, and then start with some new ones. I have got a separate pair of these, which are, I want to say Knipex ones, which I use on things like Speedfit and stuff like that. But obviously they are for that, they're much better. For bigger stuff, I've got Ox ones. They don't really blunt, okay, because they're just used on plastic only. But on glass rope, I won't even use them on there because they blunt just as quick. So get yourself a pair of these, because you put the glass rope round, go, cut, done. Very essential item. Here we go here. So we've done screwdrivers, like so. Here we go. So we've got a socket set. Don't need everything that's on this socket set. Essentially, the most common ones you need here are the 13mm, which is this one here, okay, and you need the 17, which is here, this one here. They're the two most common sizes. 17 are on Grant boilers, I've taken the combustion lids off, and 13 are for all your burner nuts. Now my youngest son Ben, again, he's got T-bars. The T-bars are just as good. The reason I choose to have these is because sometimes I do bits at home as well, so it's ideal for that as well, and you got the ratchet with it. Haven't got to have this. This is glorified. This is probably £100 for this kit, but Amazon probably for these. But again, you can get yourself a cheap set. Magnus's one screw fix, £25-30, good enough for the job. Make sure, however, though, it's 3/8 drive. If it's 1/2 inch, it'd be too chunky. If it's 1/4, it would just snap. That is your most basic servicing tools there. The only thing we're missing that I haven't got out is you need scrapers. Go to B&Q, somewhere like that, buy a set of 3 scrapers, and you can just scrape away and clean all the inside of the boiler. Basic scrapers that you use for decorating. On old-fashioned boilers, where you've got like Valairs and stuff like that, you've got the combustion chamber that you lift off and away. We've designed a longer scraper, so it's just a bit of bar. We've cut the end of a scraper, we've attached it to the end of the bar, or it's like a hollow tube, and then you can use it for scraping the sides of the boiler. That's so much better. I haven't got mine in my van right now because I lent it to Ryan the other day because the ends broke off his and I'm fixing it at home. But they normally go 6 months before they break, and then you just fix them and do it again. But they're really good. You can really scrape down the side of them. I'm pretty sure that's everything. When you come to test equipment and stuff like that, obviously you need a oil gauge. This is ridiculous money because it's digital. You don't need to have this digital one like this. You can have just a normal gauge. Just make sure it's glycerine filled. It's got to have a liquid in it because it would just hold steady. Ones with no liquid will just kick all the time, and then you'll find you'll get really confused with your readings and stuff like that. The other thing as well is a smoke gun. Don't forget your smoke gun, because obviously once you service a boiler, especially if it's been dirty, you need to smoke it first. I'm going to do a short on smoke guns in the next few weeks so people can see that, just how to do it on a boiler. So watch this space on the short. The final one, the big one, is your kit. What kit are you going to use? What analyzer are you going to use? Do you know what? If you're starting out, get a cheap one. As long as it does the job, that's all that matters. And Anton do a really good entrance level one, so do Kane. And the one I've got is ridiculous money because I do a slight bit commercial as well. So mine's a Kane 958, but they're a lot of money. If you get a 458 or something like that, you're looking at £300-400. There is other makes, can't remember off the top of my head, but you know, you can pay as much as £250 for a half decent analyzer. As long as it does CO2, as long as it does NOx, sometimes if you want it, as long as it does your temperatures okay, etc, etc, and your CO, it's fine. Obviously if you're doing gas as well, there's other things you do on it like tightness tests, but I don't understand all that because I don't do gas and we're talking about oil. But they're the 3 main things you've got to look at. And remember, when you set a boiler up, get it to a higher temperature as you know the boiler's going to go. If it's an old boiler that's not condensing, you want to be up at 160, 200, 220, depending on the make of boiler. If it's a condensing boiler, anything from 55 to 70 degrees before you test it. Because the higher the temperature in the boiler, the higher the CO2, so get them right. So that's the analyzers. The other thing that we forgot, Isabel, is obviously multimeters. Get yourself a multimeter. The most important thing you've got to do is microfarads, okay, which is obviously for your capacitors, because you need to check your capacitors. So that is really, really important. So again, you can get really, really cheap ones that do it. And then there seems to be a massive gap in the market, and then all of a sudden they're really expensive to do it as well. I know it's good to do other things like voltages and things like that, but I do that a different way sometimes. But essentially the most important thing is that you've got a multimeter for your capacitors. That is everything I've got to say about my tools. That is your most basic stuff there. And I do hope it's really helped you. Obviously, as time goes by and you get a bit more experience, then you can start to add like your soldering bags and you know, your drills. Obviously you need basic drills anyway, but just get bottom of the range stuff. And as time goes on, you just increase your tools slowly. Don't think that you've got to get everything in one go, because if you do, you're going to be quite a few £1,000 down. My tool bag I use, if you want to turn around here, Isabel, is a Velocity. They're an absolute fortune. For a start, I recommend you just don't do that. It's not worth it. When I started out, I used a Stanley one. It lasted me about a year and it died. Then I bought another one. It lasted me a year and it died. But they were like £60-70. Sometimes you can get them cheaper. This one, £250, but it's 6.5 years old and it still hasn't got a hole in it. So very clearly, again, long term, that's great to use. But for a start, it's not good to use. I've forgotten one thing, Isabel. What do you think I've forgotten? 2 things. What have I forgotten, Isabel?
Don't know.
Hoover.
I was actually going to say that.
You need a Hoover, okay? Again, we try to go for like Henry commercials. The reason being is because they have metal bottoms. You have to remember, when you're servicing, you do not hoover up an oily rag and then 3 seconds, as much as it would stink in the house, 3 seconds later don't put anything hot in it, because my son Ryan managed to do it and melt the bottom of a hoover. He caught fire. Luckily he was outside. So yeah, my advice is try and get a hoover with a metal bottom. Okay, now Henry commercials are dear, they're like £280, but they've got bigger bore hoses as well. But you can go to Screwfix. This isn't a Screwfix plug, by the way, but it's where I get a lot of stuff from. You can buy a nice Titan one that's got a metal bottom in it. It does wet and dry. I use it for dry only. You can get the Hoover bags just absolutely fine. And they're brilliant. You know, we've got one of them. There's one in my van at the moment that I use for all sorts of stuff, not my main one, but I've had it years and it's absolutely fine. So yeah, just try and get a Hoover that's metal bottomed. If you use a plastic bottom one, then be very, very careful. And when you're hoovering, just don't go mad. Just like, remember, you can't pick it all up in one go because the Hoover won't take it. You just go a bit at a time, and change your bag regularly, especially if you're doing a suited up boiler. Keep some spare bags on your van. WD-40, really important for lubricating stuff. Do not forget your copper grease because you need to lubricate threads quite often, etc, etc. Basic stuff, silicons. You're going to need high temperature silicone for when you're putting your ropes in and things like that. And what's the other thing we missed, Isabel? Because there is one more thing.
Elbow grease.
No, elbow grease for cleaning, very good. No. A brush. A paintbrush.
Oh yeah.
When you're cleaning and dusting and cleaning your burner, paintbrush. Get a good array. I have, believe it or not, a 1/2 inch, a 1 inch and a 2 inch. Okay, so yeah, we have a few different variations of them. So there's so many, let's go back around here. So many more tools I can show you. You know, one of the other things I was going to say quickly, 10mm pipe bender. Because if you ever get yourself in trouble and you need to bend a bit of copper, you're going to need that as well. All right. So I'm just scratching the surface of the tools you need. But like I've just repeated myself, because I'm going to earlier on, you've just got to get the basics. Go entrance level, don't spend a lot of money, make sure you're happy with the job, and then slowly improve and build your tools slowly. The world wasn't built in a day. When you're doing boilers, take your time if you're new to it. Really get to know your product. You know, I do a service. Sometimes you can do one in an hour if it's a wall star. Sometimes they can take a lot longer, up to 2.5 hours sometimes. However, if you're new to it and it's one that you haven't been to before, don't be a mug. Allow yourself 3 hours, 4 hours. Yes, you're not going to make the money that you normally want to make, but once you've done a couple and you've taken it that time, essentially you've had every immortal part of that boiler to pieces. And once you've had it to pieces a couple of times, you'll understand it, and then you'll slowly get quicker. When you get quicker, things get easier. When things get easier, you make more money. When you make more money, you buy better tools. So it is literally as simple as that. Anyway, enough about me. That's the end of the vlog this week, and I hope you enjoyed it. So it was totally different. It's me talking about tools, which is one of my favourite subjects. So there we go. Please feel free to subscribe like you do, which is great. Thank you. Comments will be absolutely fantastic. If there's anyone new who wants to know where to get anything from, or wants to ask anything else or any advice about starting in the trade, please feel free to comment. And obviously you can get a hold of us through the YouTube, and there's also Instagram, Facebook, and you can even drop on the website and send us some messages. Up to you. Have a great weekend, everyone, and until next time, stay safe.